Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Newcastle Fans TV. It is January 2023, and therefore we're in the January transfer window. Beth, Mark, and I will be discussing who we would like to keep, sell, and loan today. Beth, how are you doing?
I'm all right, thank you very much. Happy New Year, everybody. I'm having a good start to this year, so let's hope it continues. How's everybody else?
Exactly. Let us know how you're doing. Let us know how you're doing in the comments, and we'll get back to you on that. How are you, Mark? Fresh face on the channel.
Yeah, very good. I've really enjoyed the start. I thought it was about time I got on video. I've been asked a few times, so I thought this would be the perfect way to start. But yeah, really happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. So we probably should crack right on with this. I'm just going to get the graphics up. But what do you expect of the transfer window to be? Mark, I'll start with you. What are you expecting?
I think it's quite well documented amongst Newcastle fans what we need. We really do need a number 6 now, don't we? I think as well, sort of like that sort of depth. We need a wide man, probably another striker. I think that if you ask any Newcastle fan at the moment, they would be the areas of priority. Certainly not a goalkeeper, anyway. But again, it's like Sam alluded to when he was on Sky Sports the other day. We've got to be very, very cautious about financial fair play. And obviously, we are a bit ahead of schedule, being third in the league at the moment. So it's trying to maintain what we've started this season and, try to build appropriately. It's going to be a very interesting month, certainly.
Indeed. Sorry, Beth, that is completely cutting you off. I'll remove that comment. And Beth, what are you expecting from January?
I'm not expecting any major signings. I think a lot of people are, but I can't see like a major signing. Like obviously we had Bruno last year on the last day of the transfer window. I don't think there'll be another significant one like that. I think we need to strengthen the squad. Like our bench is not brilliant, is it? So I think we need a few more squad players in with like good quality. I think we do need 6 because I would prefer to see Bruno pushing a bit further up the pitch, and obviously John Joe's injured again, so
yeah. No, indeed. So Beth and Mark both wanting a 6 and possibly a wide forward, and definitely strength and depth. So let us know who you want down in the comments below, and we will get them on screen for you when you tell us. Right, we'll start from the back and go forward. So I bunch these 3 together because Karius' contract is about to expire, and who knows what's going to happen with the other 2. So we'll start with Carl Darlow. Beth, I'll go back to you on this one. What would you do with him? Keep, sell, or loan?
I think the goalkeeper situation right now is so tricky. Like, why have we got so many of them, first of all? And apart from Nick Pope, obviously right now we're all a bit like, nah, with Martin Dúbravka because of the way he went on about Manchester. But like they're all like quite a similar quality, and obviously Mark Gillespie's just happy being in number 3, loves being in the away end and stuff. So I think I would keep Darlow as the number 2.
Do you think you wouldn't? Well, we'll come on to Dúbravka in a minute, but you'd keep him as the number 2. You wouldn't loan him till the end of the season or anything.
No, I think I would just keep him.
Do you not think he'd want game time?
Well, I was looking at that, and since 2014, he's played like 80 games. Like, he's averaging like 10 games per calendar year for Newcastle. So game time's never really been, like, even in like his younger years, it wasn't really significant to him. Like, he's just always stayed, and he's never seemed unhappy.
Yeah,
but,
good point. Good point.
We could have a run in the FA Cup as well, hopefully. And he could play those games.
But Eddie Howe does like to keep his cup team strong. Darlow's only played once in the cup this season. Mark, what would you do with Carl Darlow this season?
I actually agree with Beth. Obviously, there's a bit of a keeper conundrum at the moment, having so many senior keepers on the books. For me, I honestly, I'm of the opinion that Dúbravka has sort of tarnished his reputation a little bit. I feel the manner that he left and the way he spoke about the move. He also called Man United in an interview, and I didn't really rate that very much. I just think it's very murky, sort of seeming to be pushing for that loan move, the very strange loan move that no one really understood. Then all of a sudden he wanted to come back this month and fight for his place. It just seems a little bit strange to me. So for me, your number 2 for the rest of the season it is between Darlow and extending Karius. It is between those two, and I agree. Gillespie is a number 3. So yeah, I'm leaning towards probably keeping Darlow. I would cash in on Dúbravka, I really would. And if there's any truth to the rumours of Leicester's interest, then obviously he could be used as a make weight. But obviously he's come out and said that he wants to fight for his place. So it's going to be difficult to shift a player who has no intention of leaving, I think. But yeah, I'll probably agree with that. I'll keep Darlow. I really would.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Funnily enough, I would disagree with both of you. I would either sell him or loan him, because I cannot see any movement with Martin Dúbravka. I don't see him leaving at all. And the contracts for them are both the same. I could see Darlow dropping down to the Championship. I don't think Dúbravka would. But Gillespie's going to stay until the end of the season because his contract's up anyway.
Yeah.
So I think Darlow will possibly be on the move if any of the keepers are. But we'll move on to Dúbravka. What do we think? Realistically, keep or sell, isn't it?
Yeah, for me, like I said before, I would cash in if that's a possibility. Possibly look at part exchange. But as you said, I can't really see an exit this month. Obviously, this video is about blue sky thinking, isn't it? And sort of what we would do personally. And from a personal point of view, I really would look to cash in on him at this point in time. But I can't really see him going anywhere. So thinking realistically, I do agree that probably you're more likely to get Darlow out this month. But if it was up to me, I would probably sell Dúbravka, try and make him a part exchange, perhaps.
Yeah, Beth, do you see any value in that? Could we maybe get one of the Leicester lads with Dúbravka being used as a make weight?
I think if it was a Premier League team, I think Leicester would be the best shout because obviously they've got Danny Ward now, haven't they? But he has been keeping. Has he got like the second most clean sheets or something in the league? But Dúbravka's like, I think his Manchester United move, it's just only made his value decrease because it was an absolute shocker, wasn't it? He played like twice and he had howlers in both games. So I don't think that's done him any favours. I don't really think it's done the club any favours. But I also can't really see him sticking around because like the other day when he arrived with the team, all of the team entered the stadium, entered the dressing room, and then there was the coaching staff, and then right behind them was Martin on his own, and he just looked miserable. And I just don't see it working out for him anymore. And it's sad because when you think about it, he's saved this club so many times, and he's just really tarnished his reputation. And it's like it would be a sad ending for it to like go out this way, but I don't think he should stay.
Yeah, I understand. I don't think, and to be fair, Eddie Howe and his how he likes to keep the attitude in the dressing room. I could see him moving on, but I don't think it'll be until the summer. I don't think there's going to be any immediate because I think he just wants Nick Pope to be pressurised to keep producing high level performances, just in case he might drop off, or perhaps Dúbravka plays in the cups. We'll see. Just comments coming like this: can Dúbravka be registered for 3 clubs in one season? He hasn't been registered for Newcastle yet. Hasn't played in any games. Obviously, he was on the bench against Leicester, but that will not affect anything. The registration is open for January, so he can still be transferred to another Premier League club. Finally, Loris Karius. This one pretty much looks decided, but his contract I think ends towards the end of this month or something. But it does look like he's heading out the door, doesn't it, Mark?
It does, yeah. I mean, we knew that he was signing on a short term, so it's no real surprise as the press are reporting that he's due to leave when his contract expires. Personally, I wouldn't have been against Karius being extended. But it's like we said before, for me, Karius or Darlow going into the second half of the season, that would be my pick. But yeah, it kind of seems sensible to keep someone on the books if you're not going to be able to get the sale, rather than renew another contract. I think it was fairly obvious that he wasn't going to get extended, short of something crazy. So yeah, to be expected, really.
Yeah. Do you feel from a little bit, Beth? We had a comment from a fellow member of the channel, Sam, earlier. Says he feels for him he hasn't really had a chance to recover from his mistakes in the Champions League all those years ago, because he did, albeit it was against Al Hilal, but he did play pretty well against them.
I think like all fans of all the teams in the Premier League view Karius now as just the mistake in the Champions League final. You can't see past it, and he hasn't had the opportunity really anywhere to show that he's better than that mistake, or like to give you like a better, more fresh memory of him. You just see him as that mistake, and I did think we would see more of him than we have done, but you can't really complain, can you, when you've got Nick Pope in goal playing the way Nick Pope's playing? So
yeah, it's slightly surprising that he hasn't been seen in any of the cups, because as we saw, he's got a bit of talent in him.
Yeah.
He's a very capable shot stopper, but it is, I suppose, possibly in the back of every manager's mind, whoever it is, he's got that mistake in him, and that's probably just what's put him behind Karl Darlow and Martin Dúbravka, and he's probably seen him head out the door. So that'll be Loris Karius on his way out of the club. Right, moving on, we have Javier Manquillo. Only made 2 appearances this season, one in the cup, one in the league. He started against Tranmere, and I can't remember when he came on in the Premier League. I think it might have been at Fulham. Correct me if I'm wrong. But Mark, it was. Yeah, Mark, I'll start with you on this one.
I was a little bit surprised the length of contract he got. He got 4 years, didn't he? Was it last year that he got 4 years just before the takeover?
I think his contract expires next summer, so 2024. Yeah.
For me, he's a tricky one, Manquillo, because he's had flashes, had moments where he has looked, like a reliable deputy for, left back and right back. For me, moving forward, I would probably say his time has come. I think I'll never forget those heroics Leeds away, the Shelby goal. I think Manquillo started the move that led to the free kick. Am I right with that?
Yeah.
So that would be, yes, you are.
That will be sort of my lasting memory. So a steady player, but for me, he's not a player that we move forward with. I would be inclined to cash in if possible.
Yeah. Beth, Sam's asking, can we all admit Kraft is better than Manquillo? Can we?
Yes, we can. But also, I think when you mention Kraft and you think of Target now as well, it's more reason to keep Manquillo, even if it's just until summer and then maybe cash in. Because we don't have very much cover now. Obviously, Emil Kraft, even when he recovers from his injury, how severe that injury was, he can't just come straight back in and be playing 90 minutes, save something happened to like Dan Burn or Kieran Trippier. And obviously Matt Target now, he's out. So I think we have to keep Manquillo until the summer and then analyse the situation again.
So you would keep Manquillo and Mark would sell him. Very, very interesting, because personally, and if this one comes down to me, I guess, I would sell him, because I think we will be investing in a right back. I think that's one of our main right back, and a number 6 is what we widely reported to be looking at in this window. Heavily linked with Fresnada, an 18-year-old from Spain. The Valladolid manager today came out and said he's definitely leaving this window. Yeah. So I think there's an opportunity here to improve and build on our squad. Whether he would be ready to be thrust into the Premier League is another matter. So I can see why you wanted to keep him. But I think, personally, sell Manquillo. Let us know what you think in the comments about that. But yeah, Manquillo could be heading out the door. If not, I think we'd all like to upgrade on him in the summer, or wait and see how Kraft gets back from his injury when he's back. This could be controversial. The skipper, Jamaal Lascelles. Mark, I'll start with you again. Jamaal Lascelles, in or out? Or I'll phrase it slightly differently. Could he do with a loan until the end of the season, get him back playing, and then possibly move on in the summer? Or would you like him as a leader off the pitch as well?
Again, Lascelles, one of many who divides opinion a little bit with our fan base. He's obviously had his critiques over the years. He's been criticised quite heavily previously. But I think you've got such a valuable commodity in Jamaal Lascelles. He appears to properly be captain off the pitch. He's not throwing his toys out the pram. He knows he's not first choice at this current moment. But again, he's a player that seemingly has the full support and respect of the dressing room. And I just think if he's, put sentiment aside, I just think that he's been an important character and a go-to and a proper captain. And he got booked twice without being on the pitch this season, which I also rate very highly. Personally, for me, as it stands, I'm more than happy to have Jamaal Lascelles in the squad. He's a keep for me. As I say, I think that personnel and what he brings to the dressing room and the type of character he is, I think he's a strong personality in that dressing room, and I would keep holding him for now.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think that'd be wise. He is a real leader off the pitch. As we saw last night, not last night, a Tuesday against Arsenal, getting booked off the pitch for the second time this season. And Sam, I'd like to see him get 5 bookings, which would be interesting, all off the pitch. Beth, is it sensible to keep the skipper mid-season? It can't be changing it around like that, can we?
I think you've got to keep it. And again, we can go back to the Matt Target injury, because right now we don't have much depth at centre-back when Dan Burn is starting as our left-back. So if anything happens with our back line right now, it probably would be Jamaal Lascelles that would step in. And also, yeah, you've got to look at the way he leads.
Can we just pause? Mark, I think your audio might be a bit crackly. Right, carry on, Beth, sorry.
Oh, it's going again.
Is it me?
It was Harry.
Hello? Was it me?
It's you.
Is it?
Yeah, it's you.
Hold on.
Yes, we'll come over here in a minute.
Is that better?
Yes, it is. A little away. No.
Right, hang on. I'll take it all out and. Hello.
There we go.
All right, Mark's dropped out. So Beth, Jamaal Lascelles, is it too brave to try and move him on in January?
No, I don't know how much anybody heard because it was going a bit wild, so I'll just repeat it. I think you've got to keep him, especially when you consider that we've got no depth really at centre back now that Dan Burn is our starting left back. So I think you've got to keep him anyway. And as you can see, like, even when he's not playing, he's on those sidelines being passionate enough to get yellow cards, like, without even entering the pitch. Like, that just shows you, like, that he's still so passionate about this club. So I think you've got to keep him around anyway.
Yeah. No, I think that's wise. He is still club captain, and we do need the cover at centre-back, as you say. Bottom and Burn sharing themselves of 4 centre-backs. And with Dummett, who can fill in, being so injury-prone, We do need him there as cover. And to be fair, I don't think it's been reported of us being interested in any centre backs, and I think that would definitely be the sensible decision to keep hold of Jamaal Lascelles, especially just for the banter of him getting booked when he's off the pitch. That's hilarious to have that done twice in a season.
He started games as well, so
yes, he has started 3 games. I think one of them was in the cup, but yeah, and he started at Anfield as well. So yes, Jamaal Lascelles is a keep. We're just waiting on Mark to come back in, so I'll just have a quick look at some of your comments. The mothership says I don't want Lascelles sold. Keep him, yeah. Keep Lascelles. Seeing a lot of keeps here. Forgot about Dummett. Yeah, he's been injured a long time, hasn't he? Dummett can go. Yes, right. So we'll move on to the next one, and we'll obviously start with Beth. Jamal Lewis, very forgotten man. Played twice this season, once at Craven Cottage and once at Prenton Park against Tranmere. What would you do with him? He's only 24 years old, still got plenty of time left in his career, but is it time to cut our losses?
I think this one's like, it's a bit sad when you think about it, because when we signed him, like the prospect, like everyone was excited, weren't they? We thought he was like going to be unbelievable, and like when he played his first few games, he was really good. He was exciting, and like the age he was, but then he's had this horrible injury, and we just haven't really seen him since. I don't think I would sell him yet. I think I would loan him out, because the age he is now, he needs to be getting the minutes. He needs to be playing, and he needs to get his match fitness back. Because
you know what?
Played.
Yeah, sorry. You know what? I would completely agree. I think Jamal Lewis, Eddie Howe had started to get the best out of him towards it. Well, possibly not the best, but mid-season, just before January this time last year, I suppose. I think he was really improving. And then Matt Targett comes along. He's obviously seen as an upgrade because he's Premier League experience. He's that kind of quality. And so Matt Targett comes straight in, and we've barely seen Lewis since. Yeah. And I think he was pretty hard done by there. And I think he just needs he needs more football. He needs more time. He needs more experience. I think a loan to the Championship would be fine, perfectly fine for him. I wouldn't even mind seeing him play in the Cup this weekend against Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah.
If required against Leicester, who knows? Because Matt Targett's out for a month plus. We don't know when we're next going to see him. So, personally, I would keep him. I would keep Jamal Lewis. See what some of you guys are saying in the comments.
I don't think we should keep him though. I think a loan would be the best shout. He needs the match fitness, doesn't he?
That's what I was alluding to. Yeah. I didn't mean to say keep him. I would loan him out now until the end of the season to make sure he comes back a better player than he is currently, or at least comes back a more confident player.
I think he needs it more for
something out of this season.
Yeah. For a player that young, he needs to be playing.
Yeah, and to be fair, I can see him staying with Targett's injury, as Sean says, but. Yeah. I would quite happily loan him out. Possible loan, keep Lewis. Lewis never really got a decent chance. So a lot of you wanted to, very, very mixed opinions on Jamal Lewis. Allow him to leave on loan, but only right at the end of the month. Then Target will be due a week later or so. Interested in that, actually, whether some of these you would be happy to wait until the end of the month or so to review, because we're just at the start of the window, aren't we? There's a lot of time to go. There's 3.5 weeks. Mental how long it is.
Isn't it? January is the longest month because you just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. I think we might have Mark back, hopefully. So I will move on to the next one and try and get him in for that. But for now, we have Jamal Lewis to go out on loan. 1 second. Next one we have is Jacob Murphy. Now, comment below Jacob Murphy, because obviously he's made 19 appearances, been a staple off the bench. But what would you do with him? And Mark is back. Mark,
Sorry,
can you hear us?
guys. Technical glitch.
Not a problem. It happens when we're live. It's pretty much part of the process. But now you're back with us. Jacob Murphy, keep, sell or loan? What would you do?
I am going to be very blunt with this one. I would sell. The reason that I answer that without much hesitation is we go back to our depth and our options off the bench. Arsenal the other day, when it was apparent that our changes were Murphy and Wood, it just demonstrated how much we do lack depth. I love the idea of Jacob Murphy. Obviously, a Newcastle fan, loves the club. Not scared to put a cross in either, but I worry about what else he can do. I like him. Whether I think that he is part of the journey moving forward, I'm not so convinced. I would cash in on Jacob Murphy, personally speaking.
Would you not be tempted to keep him till the summer, like Catherine says? Obviously, he's played a lot off the bench.
Yeah,
as you say, he puts in a cross.
I mean, as I say, this video is very hypothetical. It's blue sky thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I think that when we talk about who we keep and who would maybe let go, you've got to go on the assumption that you can bring someone else in. We don't have a lot of strength in depth with wide men at all, and he has made his cameos and he has been involved in the team. So I mean, from that point of view, if we can't sign a wide man, then I wouldn't be completely opposed to Jacob Murphy staying for a little bit longer. But long term, I don't think he's a player that can move us forward as much as he could be.
I understand that. Beth, what's your thinking on that? He does have a long contract, still got 4.5 years left on it, and he's a Boyhood Toon fan. Would you have to just
you've got to keep him right now. Like right now, you've got to keep him, because then when you look at the other wide players that could move on in January, like Fraser or Richie, we can't get rid of all three of them. And Fraser and Richie this time in the summer or this time next year wouldn't have as much value as Jacob Murphy, I dare say. So I also think when you're looking at the substitutions we're making in the game and the way we're approaching the games, Eddie Howe is putting his trust and his faith in Jacob Murphy. We're seeing him coming on at similar times in every game. And he's not really coming on and he's not getting his assists and he's not getting goal contributions. But Eddie Howe trusts him and he's coming on and it's working for the team. Like, we're not losing. And he's not like one of those people that comes on and we all get excited, because I think everyone's a bit like, oh, it's Jacob Murphy. But he's sort of like reliable in a way. Like, he just comes on, just puts a shift in, doesn't he?
Yeah, in a way, he's always going to give 110%, and that I'm sure that's why he was brought on at Arsenal at the Emirates on Tuesday night over the likes of saint-maximin, Ryan Fraser. But he does lack that end product, as we can see here. 6 starts, 19 appearances, just 1 goal and 1 assist. He doesn't really bring a lot to the table in that sense.
Yeah.
So Beth would keep Jacob Murphy. Mark would sell Jacob Murphy. What are we going to do with Jacob Murphy? I think we're going to sell him. I think we're going to sell him because I think we need to make room in that squad. And I think whether it's we buy another midfielder and Joe Linton pushes forward or something along those lines, I think at some point you've just got to cut your ties. And Jacob Murphy has to go at some point. If we keep stringing him along, it just feels wrong, and he needs to get on with his career as well. He needs to go out there and play football regularly and make a career for himself, because I'm sure he would love to do that more, and see Newcastle progress at the same time. It's a tough one because obviously being with us for nearly 6 years, 7 years. Not 100% sure when he signed, but
Rafa
be a tough
him,
one.
didn't he?
Yeah, I think Rafa signed him in 2016. Be a tough one to
Yeah.
let him go, but I think he's served his time. He's not in prison, but I think he's done enough for the club, and I think he can leave with his head held high. But moving on, we have the boy wonder, the Geordie Maradona, Elliot Anderson. Beth, keep, sell, or loan? I don't think you're going to be selling him for some reason.
No, absolutely not selling Elliot Anderson. This one's really difficult because I think in the summer just gone, we all were like really excited to see more of Elliot Anderson this season, whether that was at Newcastle or that was him going on loan in the summer, going to another club because of what he'd just achieved at Bristol Rovers. So I think we were all really excited to see what he could then go on and do in the coming months. And I thought we'd see a bit more from him this season, but also I don't think we expected to be like in the top 4, battling for as much as we were. I think we were like thinking, like top 8 would be brilliant. Elliot Anderson would get more minutes, but we seem to be fighting for a little bit more than that. And I think the age he is, you want him to be playing more than he actually is right now because you don't want his progress to like stagnate. So I'm stuck between keeping him and he gets like his 6 minutes here and there, or do we put him on loan but to a top 6 championship team, lower end Premier League team, so that he can keep progressing with his career and then come back to us in the summer and fight for his place.
But is that realistic? Do you really think that he'd attract the attention of that calibre of club with such little experience?
I think definitely the top half of the Championship because of what he was doing at Bristol Rovers and such a young player. And when he does come on, he has like these moments where you look at him and think he's got so much potential, but he's not playing enough minutes here for us to really see the extent of his potential right now. And you don't want that to just stall.
Yeah, that's true. So you're leaning towards loan then, Mark. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's understood that the lad's got a very bright future at the club. We've seen flashes. We know we've got a player in there. I've read that I think Birmingham and Preston were looking at him. I'm not sure how true that is on loan. But I do think at this moment in time, he does need to play football. We know he's got a big future at the club. We know that he'll feature. But as things stand, I think that if you can get him out to a championship team and he's playing regularly and playing football, that's going to benefit us. It's going to be great for his development. I think it makes a lot of sense to get him out on loan for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's got to go out on loan. I think he needs minutes. He desperately needs minutes because he is just getting 10, 15-minute cameos at best for us, providing us energy off the bench. But he's not getting the chance properly to showcase his talent. Often when he comes on, the game is won, or we desperately need him to create something. So I think he needs to go out on loan. I really do to reignite his career. Not that it's died, but he just needs to keep that momentum going from Bristol Rovers last season, and he needs to carry on producing, come back to us in the summer, possibly reevaluate his situation then. But for me, and I guess for the two of you, Elliot Anderson heads out on loan this January. Next up, we have Ryan Fraser. Beth, eight appearances this season, just 3 starts, no goal contributions, which isn't necessarily what you want from a winger. 2.5 years left on his contract. What are we doing this January?
Sell him. Just sell him.
And why?
Just sell him. If everyone's so confident that Jacob Murphy should be sold, Ryan Fraser should absolutely be sold ahead of Jacob Murphy. I don't actually remember the last time I watched him play football and thought, wow, it's just, he gets injuries. He seems like a bit of a grumpy sod, doesn't he? There's nothing there. No goals, no assists. He doesn't seem to bring much to the table. And I actually genuinely don't remember watching him play football. this season. And I do remember Jacob Murphy coming on and playing football, but I don't remember Ryan Fraser doing that this season.
Well, but is that his fault? Because obviously he has been injured. I don't think he's been injured for that much of this season. But is that his fault that he's not getting opportunities?
Well, he's working under a manager that he's worked under before who liked him. And the fact that he's not getting opportunities now shows how far behind he is ahead of the rest of the players in the squad, I think. Because Eddie Howe liked Ryan Fraser, and now he's getting nothing. He's getting crumbs every now and then. I think he should be playing football because he's not like a bad football player. So I think he should go out. He likes to be down south as well. He's a bit of a Matt Ritchie, isn't he? He wants to be down south.
Being linked with Southampton.
Go.
Yeah. Mark, what about you? We're getting a lot of keep Frasers over Murphys. Some people want to sell him. Liam says we've never seen the Ryan Fraser that was at Bournemouth. Would you keep, sell, or loan him this January?
I agree. We haven't seen the Fraser that we saw at Bournemouth. I think that there was a lot of excitement when he came in. Shrewd bit of business, and I think that we were all hoping for the Wilson and Fraser link-up that we saw at Bournemouth that was so deadly for so long. But it's just not quite ticked for him. This being said, I thought that last season he put in some brilliant performances for us. With Ryan Fraser, it's always been one of those things where it's like I don't want to write him off just yet. And I agree with all the people in the comments that would prefer to see Fraser stay over Murphy. I would personally. But I do think it appears to be a bit of a foregone conclusion that he will be sold if the rumours are to be believed about the Southampton interest. And I think I read that he was actively looking for a move to get more football. So it almost seems as if it's a bit of a foregone conclusion that he will be off. I still think there's a player in there. I think if you could get him for a run of games, I'd rather bring him off the bench than Murphy. That's just me. So I'm going to be controversial here because if we're going with what I think will happen, I think he will be sold. But from a personal point of view, if I'm selling, if I'm selling, lost my trail of thought there.
Murphy.
If I'm selling Jacob Murphy this window, I would keep Fraser, but that's just personal preference because I do think he will go. But I do think that there's a player in there that we've not seen yet in black and white.
You've got to consider if you're keeping Murphy off Fraser to bring off the bench and play the minutes, then you've got to think about the fact that Murphy is always fit. Like if you've got to rely on one of them to bring on, Murphy is always fit. If you're keeping him around for those bench minutes where you need to just bring someone to kill off a game, Ryan Fraser is not as reliable.
No, I hear what you say, but as I say, I do think that he had some moments last year during that turnaround. I think that when he was getting in the team, I think that he was putting in some good performances. Yeah. And I guess that I've just not given up on seeing the Ryan Fraser that we saw at Bournemouth. The player that was sought after by some really big clubs. At the time, I think Arsenal were linked with him all the time. So I thought it was a great bit of business bringing him in, and I do concede that it's not really worked out to date. And I do think he will go. But for me, I get what you say about reliability and fitness. I just think that he's a better player than Murphy.
Yeah.
I really do.
He is absolutely a better player. I just think you've got to consider the match fitness. Like, that's like a big
solid
thing.
argument, Beth. No, it's, I do get what you're saying. But as I say, I think out of all, maybe apart from Karius, I think that the most foregone conclusion for me, I do think that Fraser will probably depart in January. Yeah. I think that that's one that looks like it's got some legs in terms of him leaving the club.
Certainly looks that way, doesn't it? Although there hasn't been much talk in the window yet. I think it was a couple of weeks before when he was linked to Southampton. But should the likes of Elliot Anderson be ahead of the likes of Fraser and Murphy? We've seen Joe Linton a lot starting on the left. Ryan Fraser and Jacob Murphy. Should they be starting ahead of him on the left? Is there something wrong there?
Well, I think it's been well documented, hasn't it, that we do need to address the wide situation. Joelinton, if we look at how it's evolved and when it happened, obviously beast in centre mid. I don't think it works quite the same when it's out wide. So that's certainly something we need to look at. I want Joelinton in the middle. I'm sure I can speak for most of us when I say that. So certainly I think that the wide positions are something that we do need to prioritise. Whether that will happen this month, who knows? But I do think that that's something we need to look at. And I think the fact that we are looking at players that we're potentially happy to lose, and we've got a couple of wide men in there when it's an area that we're so light on. I think it shows that we probably do need to address the situation really.
Yeah. And Beth, do you see that needing major surgery in the summer? So if Jacob Murphy and Ryan Fraser were to leave, Elliot Anderson may go back out on loan. Leave us with just ASM, Almiron, and possibly Isaac, who can play wide.
Yeah, then I think that's when the statement signing is needed again. I think then we would need to bring in a big winger, because we don't have much, there's not much quality there, especially when you look at the squad depth. Everyone always cries when you see Murphy on the bench. But then if Murphy's not on the bench, then who is on the bench? Nobody. We've got nothing. So I do think in the summer we need to bring in, well, in January we could bring in a wide player and fix that problem. So
we could. To be fair, I don't see it being too likely that we'll get any wide players in January. I think if one of Fraser, Anderson or Murphy leave, I can't see anyone being replaced. I think it would just mean more opportunities for one of those three. But yeah, I think that's, as we said, I think that's one to look at in the summer. And on to our final one for today, starting with Beth. I think it's your turn. It's Christopher Wood. Started 6 times this season, scored 3 goals. I think one he scored at Southampton. He scored at the penalty against Leicester, and I can't remember his other goal. But you can tell me what you would do with him. Keep, sell, or loan.
I don't really think at this moment in time there's an argument to sell him or loan him. And I know that when you see the starting 11 and Chris Wood's up front, people are like, oh shit, Chris Wood's up front. But it's not ever that bad. He gives you a goal every now and then, and he's never going to be a Callum Wilson. He doesn't play the same as Callum Wilson, but he is quite effective in what he does and the way he plays. And right now, I think we need to keep him around. Callum Wilson doesn't have the best track record, as everybody knows, with his fitness. And then say if Isak comes in and then Callum Wilson gets injured, who do we have then?
Yeah, Mark, I'll hand this one over to you. With Isaac just coming back to injury and Wilson to fitness, and Wilson staying relatively injury-free, could there be scope to move Wood on towards possibly the end of the window after we've had, 3 more cup games?
I think that if is the key word when talking about the fitness of the 2 players you just mentioned. I think that Wood has probably had a bit of a rough ride at times. He's been criticised quite heavily at times for his lack of goals, but I think that last season his contributions were very key. I think that when we brought him in, he did a really good job. I think that there's always going to be sort of this stigma for the fact that he costs so much money. He's not a £25 million player. We all know that, but he appears to really care about the club, and I think that he does do a job. He offers you something different, and Eddie seems to really like him as well. What worries me about Chris Wood is, again, it does come down to the fitness of the other 2. If we've got to go for a long stretch with Chris Wood as number 9, I'd be a little bit worried about goal return. But obviously, if you are going to sell Wood, you're going to have a replacement ready. Are we going to splash out on the striker this transfer window? I know a lot of fans will think it's a priority to look at a striker possibly as well as a wide man, but I think he does a job. I think he offers you something different, and I do think that he puts in a shift. Not prolific, and that's something that worries us all, especially since Wilson has made a glass as good as he is. But from a personal point of view, for now, I keep Chris Wood. I'm more than happy for him to be a squad man. Third choice striker. I think he does offer you that something a little bit different, and he works hard for the team. So short term, certainly, I'll be happy to keep Chris Wood around this month.
It's a safe option, isn't it, Beth? When you look at those stats, it's not necessarily inspiring, is it? But it is very important that we do keep Chris Wood at the club, just because of the injury records of the other two, isn't it? It's he's only got 18 months left on his contract, but I believe he's got an option for 12 further months. Do you see us offloading him in the summer, if not now?
I think maybe in the summer, yeah, because then we could look to do further business. Because I think the January transfer window is more like if someone's injured or you've noticed like a couple of flaws in your squad, but summer's like a full-on like offload these and bring in these kind of window. And I think Chris Wood, the money that we paid for him last year wasn't his fault. In the situation, it's not his fault. He played for Burnley, who were about to get relegated. They wanted to stay up. We're bringing in their main target man. We had to pay that money. And we needed him at the time. And he has scored the goals sometimes, especially last season that we needed. And then when you look at this season, like, he's not the same striker as Callum Wilson, and I think that's what gets most of us. Like, Callum Wilson can take a man on and he can score a goal and he'll make the runs behind. And Chris Wood's more of like a target man that'll hold up the ball, and that allows the players around him to get into more space. So now we see like Miggy scoring goals and getting into these spaces. Like, what he does is effective, but you don't notice it really.
Yeah.
Because it's the players around him that are like reaping the benefits.
Yeah, I agree. He opens up that space, and it was a shrewd bit of business for us to get. Well, it wasn't on the cheap, but it did effectively relegate Burnley, as Stu likes to point out.
Compared to relegation.
Yeah. So Lee is wanting to know what beer everyone's favourite is, and Beth, you are drinking Bud, aren't you? As he likes to point out. Always drink Bud. And Mr. Molyneux was loving the fact that we might see Chris Wood play in the Champions League next season. Imagine that. Imagine Chris Wood from Turf Moor to the Camp Nou. But obviously that's all hypothetical. Mark, any final comments on Chris Wood?
No, just reiterate. I think that he maybe has had a rough ride at times, but like Beth said, like we've all pretty much agreed. I think he puts in a shift. I think it wouldn't make much sense to cash in now. He does a job for the team, and he was pivotal last season, tail end. So more than happy to keep Wood, especially as we know, as good as our number 9 is, he does struggle to stay fit for a prolonged amount of time. So we are going to need that option. And Eddie seems to like it, and Chris Wood himself has come out and said that he's got no interest in leaving the club, which shows that bit of commitment that he obviously has towards Newcastle. So yeah, I think it's a no-brainer to keep him around at the time, for the time being. Sorry.
Yeah, he's obviously a team player, and he does his bit for the team. He's happy to stay, makes no qualms about being on the bench. Yeah, absolutely no problem with Chris Wood. Right, that is all of our players to keep, sell, or loan. We won't be doing the full squad.
We forgot Matt Ritchie.
I did not forget Matt Ritchie. But to clarify, actually, we have not done Matt Ritchie, Paul Dummett, and Mark Gillespie, as they're all out of contract in the summer. So I expect they will see out their contracts and stay for the good of the dressing room. Paul Dummett will get his testimonial, and we will see them off very well. But yeah,
did we make a collective decision on Ryan Fraser, by the way?
Ryan Fraser, I think we said that. Well, I said sell. Beth
Okay, it's two
said
sells.
sell, and
Okay.
you said keep.
Yeah.
So yeah, we said
We're
sell
selling
Ryan Fraser.
Okay.
Richie's linked with a move away every window. Yeah, pretty much. I don't think he has been. Well, has he been? I think he was linked to Portsmouth recently.
Yeah, he was.
Matt Ritchie can go, good servant. Yeah. If we were to do Ritchie, I'm sure we would also sell, but I think he'll stay to the end of the season and see out his contract because he loves the Bournemouth boys and Jason Tyndall for the win. Anyway, that is all we have for this edition of Keep, Sell and Loan. Please do smash a like and subscribe to the channel if not already. It was a pleasure to be joined by you viewers, Beth and Mark on his debut. Thank you very much, you two. And we will see you all.
Thank you. Sorry about the technical glitch halfway through. But